Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ms. Adana Castellano. I'm the Acting Chief Operating Officer at National Quarries Company Limited. Accompanying me this evening is Mr. Nigel Tanea. He's our Commercial Manager and also our Community Liaison Officer for this project. Mr. Kyle Seeley, he's our Processing Superintendent. Mr. Geman Lee Tong, our Quality and Environmental Superintendent. Ms. Anna Samaru, she's our Environmental Officer, as well as Mr. Carl Phillips, he's our Health, Safety and Security Manager. Thank you very much, each one of you here. I recognize we have some ministry officials, government agency representatives, residents and other stakeholders. Welcome. So this evening I'm going to go through with you the project description for this CEC application number 5898 of 2019. So our certificate of environmental clearance is to operate a facility for the conduct of open pit mining, processing and storage of sand and gravel on approximately 202 hectares of land off the Toure Road, Guayco, Sangre Grande. So let me tell you something more about National Quarries, which Ms. Deer would have already gone through. So our vision here is to be the preferred supplier of quality aggregate products. Our mission at National Quarries is to be profitable, market-driven producer of quality aggregate with an engaged workforce operating safely and effectively whilst managing our environment. National Quarries Company Limited is a fully state-owned company set up by the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago in February of 1979. The main objective at the time was to supply aggregate to the construction sector at the lowest possible economic price to facilitate the major development projects either in progress or earmarked for startup. The company, throughout its existence, has successfully delivered on its mandate by maintaining price, quality of product, and stability of supply. Let's look at our environmental policy. So at NQCL, we are committed to being environmentally responsible in the conduct of our operations in mining, processing, marketing, and sale of aggregate. We will therefore, 1, set and regularly review environmental objectives and targets consistent with the intent of our environmental policy. 2, consider the environmental impacts of our activities in the planning stage. 3, execute work in a manner that prevents pollution and minimizes or eliminates negative environmental impacts as far as reasonably practicable. And 4, work towards compliance with relevant environmental legislation and other environmental requirements to which we subscribe. 5, regularly review our environmental management system to identify and implement actions to continually improve our effectiveness. So our health and safety policy places, at NQCL, we place safety at its personal ahead of achieving any of its other goals. Our commitment to safety extends to customers and the public. We must therefore protect the health and safety of our employees, clients, customers, associates, and the communities in which we operate. This is a justification for our CEC. So NQCL had applied for a certificate of environmental clearance consistent with the requirement of the CEC rules of 2001 and Activity 23, which deals with non-metallic mining and processing. The Environmental Impact Assessment, or the EIA report, would be prepared in support of the CEC application and would be consistent with the guidelines provided by the Environmental Management Authority. It will deal primarily with the significant environmental issues and provide relevant information needed by the regulatory agencies to consider any adverse or beneficial effects of the NQCL mining operations at Turi. So our project description looks at the site location, quarrying process, storage of product, handling of waste, disposal of waste, and rehabilitation. So up on the board you will see the site location for Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. So we're going to look at the quarrying process as well. So one of the first stages in the process, I will explain the continuum: site selection, exploration, sample collection, data analysis and planning, approvals, mine development planning, mineral extraction, and processing of the material. So this is an iterative process that is repeated on different scales depending on the extent of approval given. Activity is therefore ongoing. For the present project, NQCL is currently in the process of acquiring our environmental clearance to proceed. So what are the activities associated with site selection? Firstly, we would want to acknowledge that there is gravel presence, which may be suspected in a certain area based on several indicators, which would include existing geological models, maps and publications, previous investigations such as borehole databases, past quarrying history records. And then based on these factors, sites would be selected for further investigation. At the exploration stage, there is a range of activities to help determine if there is suitable minerals under the ground. The activities include, but are not limited to, land clearance, excavation, borehole drilling, and testing. A total of 10 boreholes were advanced to a depth of 15 to 20 meters for this project. 3 in Alpha, 5 in Bravo, and 2 in Charlie. At the stage of sample collection, data analysis, and planning, when we look at the samples that we would have collected and tested, we would look for particular characteristics. One, the gravel grade. It must be at a particular percentage of gravel and sand versus silt and fines. We reviewed the organic content and the moisture content. All data were analyzed and feasibility studies conducted to determine suitable sites and the best course of action to extract the material. Alpha and Bravo, however, were determined to be the most feasible sites to develop. Our regulatory approvals are submitted to several regulatory bodies. We have to supply or provide applications to the Minerals Advisory Committee, the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, the Commission of State Lands, the EMA, Town and Country and Planning, National Security for Police and Fire Services, the OSH Agency, which is Occupational Safety and Health Agency, and Water Resources Agency. Next, we look at the process for mine development and planning. So once we start clearing the lands, we will begin the stripping activity, extraction, and then haulage of the material that would have been mined. So the mining design plan includes information about how the pit will be developed from land clearing to haulage. Further mine development considerations are then detailed, such as bench heights and slopes, equipment requirements, mining phases and schedules, water management requirements, special safety considerations where applicable, and environmental considerations where applicable. For mineral extraction, the main activities are stripping and mineral extraction. Stripping is removal of the overburden to expose the pit run to be extracted. The forestry division would assess the forest cover to remove valuable timber before vegetation would be cleared. With mineral extraction, once the minerals are exposed after stripping, they will be extracted via heavy equipment. Some of the equipment are bulldozers and excavators. And then it is transported to a storage site and stockpiled to be processed. So on the board you would see a simple diagram or flow chart of the processing process. So it starts with the bulldozer pushing the pit run to the base of the loading platform. The material is stockpiled by the excavator onto the loading platform. The stockpiled material is loaded into the plant hopper by the front end loader, and the material passes through the feeder onto a series of conveyor belts that transport it to be washed. Material is washed across screens of various sizes, passing various sizes to separate and sort it into the final products. And the final products, which are normally produced, are ballast, 1.5 inch, 3/4, 3/8, sharp sand, and some of the byproducts would be the silt sand and fines. So this is what our typical wash plant would look like. The various conveyors in which the material would pass through as it is sorted along the line and is piled or stockpiled based on the size of the aggregate. Storage of product. So pit run or the raw material is brought out of the pits, and this will be stored at the plants. The products for sale are our sharp sand, 3/8 stone, 3/4 stone, 1.5 inch stone, and ballast or oversized material. The finished product will be stored at stockpiles around the processing yard. The quality assurance department will then make quality checks to verify that materials meet international standards. So the diagram above would also demonstrate to you what our finished product look like. So the 3/8 stone stockpile, 3/8 organic stone, we have sharp sand, and 1.5 inch stone stockpile. Let's look at handling and disposal of waste. After the processing, the water used to wash the stone would usually become heavily laden with silt. Silt will be allowed to settle out in a series of channels and settling ponds before flowing into storage ponds. The silt will be removed from the channels and periodically cleaned from settling ponds and sold as a byproduct. The water will then be recycled to the plant to continue the processing process once again. Rehabilitation. So once the mining and surveying department deems the land exhausted, the environment department will proceed to rehabilitate these lands. So this is the process that we go through to determine our rehabilitation process. So the areas are declared to be exhausted and are earmarked for rehabilitation. The site is backfilled with the overburden from mining activities in other areas. This backfilled material is allowed to settle, compact, and drain where applicable to a suitable extent. Selective native tree species and fruit trees are planted. Studies may be conducted on the rehabilitation of quarried sites to examine topics such as soil quality and the use of vetiver. Once the area has settled, exercises such as tilling, mulching, and use of organic waste are employed. So the lifespan of a pit varies based on recoverable reserves and mining schedules, which is approximately 3 to 5 years. NQCL is currently partnering with various groups such as the I Am Movement, Sus Trust, Vetiver TT, IRICO EMA for an ongoing community project geared towards quarry rehabilitation. You see, this is a demonstration of the Vetiver Rehabilitation Project, one of the projects here at National Quarries. Right? The I Am Movement and Vetiver team members recently would have put together a collaboration earlier on this year. So we constantly are engaged with stakeholder groups who are interested in utilizing our exhausted pits for the use of rehabilitation projects. So in conclusion, sand and gravel is used widely in the construction industry with varied applications. The project involves many steps, including mining, processing, and storage of the products. Once the mines are deemed exhausted, rehabilitation will begin, and special considerations are always made for safety and environmental compliance. Thank you, everyone.